Hi, Brian here for PianoLessonsAdvice.com. And today I'm going to give you your very first piano lesson. This lesson's going to consist of some real basic stuff, just like note names and so on and so forth. It's pretty simple. The first thing that I do want you to understand before we start the lesson is how it's different the way that I teach than some people. I stress theory strongly. In other words, I stress that you understand what you're doing before you do it. Okay? Some teachers just say play scales and here's a chord, and they teach that, but they don't explain how that is used, or they don't give it any context. And so what happens is you end up practicing, but you don't know why you're practicing something. And what happens is you get tired. You just basically lose interest in the instrument. And that's one of the reasons people don't continue on. The way that I teach, and the way it's very important, is to really understand what you're doing. Because when you do, and this is the secret, this is the key, this is the $1 million little secret. When you do, the only thing that holds you back is your hands. Because if you know what you want to play, and you know what you could play if your hands would execute it, then you want to practice. And then when you practice, you're practicing for a goal. And you know that you'll be able to do this. Okay? And it's not just a goal of being able to play one song over and over and over for the rest of your life. It's actually being able to understand music enough so you can play anything. Okay? And that's what we're building towards. This is a general understanding of music in general. Piano is important because piano is very visual. You can see things on a piano. Okay, you can see harmony, you can see scales, you can see intervals, you can see melodic ideas, so on and so forth. Patterns, all sorts of things that you can see that you can't see on a lot of other instruments. Guitar, you can sort of see stuff. You're playing a flute or clarinet or whatever. You're not necessarily, you're not seeing things. That's what's so great about piano and why it's such a wonderful instrument. It's very visual. Now, I didn't start playing piano till I was 19, actually 19 and a half. And I accomplished a lot very fast. I'm in my 50s now, so I've been playing for over 30 years. But I was, within a year I was playing with people and playing tunes. Within 2 years, I was recording stuff with friends and writing my own songs. Within 5 years, I was a highly sought after, not highly sought after in 5 years. I was after 10 years. I was doing lots of recording sessions and just recording every day, and making good money from it, I might add. Made a good living for many years. And now I have all these albums and songs to download and all sorts of stuff. And the reason I did, and the reason I'm telling you this, not just to blow my own horn, but actually, I'm not special. I'm not a prodigy. There's nothing special. I just learned the right way to start with. I got very lucky, got a good teacher early on, and because of that, that's what got me to where I am. Now, you may not have goals that you want to be a performing musician. You may just want to be able to play for your family, or whenever you can, or just something to take your mind away from the rest of the world. And we can, we're going to get there too. But you're going to have such an understanding that you will be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. And that's what's really cool. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get into this lesson. And then at the end of the lesson, you can hear one of tunes I recorded for a classical album that I did. That was classical jazz. I took classical tunes and perverted them. So take a listen to that. And this is what you can attain and the kind of things that you'll be able to do. But first, you have to start somewhere. We're going to start here, very simple, and then we're building levels, okay? We're going to slowly build this foundation, and when it's firmly in place, then you'll be able to take off. So one step at a time. This is the first step. Let's get it done, okay? Okay, let's get started with your first free lesson. Today, what we're going to do is, you're going to learn every single note on the keyboard, what it's called. Some of these notes, many of them have actually two names. and that's called an enharmonic equivalent. They can be called two different note names, and that's gonna be something we're gonna get into when we start getting into building scales and chords. And when we get there, you're gonna really understand much clearer why there are different spellings for notes. But for right now, bear with me and just learn how notes are spelled with this basic formula that I'm going to give you. And then as we move on from that, it's going to be so much more self-explanatory. Okay, first things first, I want you to forget about the white notes for a moment and just look at the black notes on the keyboard. Do you see a pattern? There is a pattern. There's a pattern. It's two black notes, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, however you want to think about it. It's up and down the keyboard, and it's consistent, okay? And anytime you see two black notes, if you go to the left black note and then go the smallest distance, which would be a half step down from that note right there is a C. Okay, that's a C note. You just found C on the keyboard. But then you say, well, wait a minute, time out, Brian. There's 3, 2, there's another 2 notes here, going to the left black note here, and then going down and playing that note. What is that note? That note is also C. This note here is C 1 octave below this. Octave meaning 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? It's 8 notes apart. Once again, we get into scales. That'll be a little bit more self-explanatory. So that C is 1 octave lower than this C. This C, 2, black, is 2 octaves, or 16, below. This C, well, I don't know if it's off camera, is 3 octaves. Okay? 32 below. There you go. So, or conversely, from this note up here, that's 1 octave above, and that's 2 octaves above. So anyways, we found C. We found them all. They're everywhere on the keyboard, okay? So you're able to find C. Now that you're able to find C, let's find C, and let's go 2 white notes. Don't worry about, just move 2 white notes down from C, down 2 white notes. That note is A. Okay, well, let's find C up here. Let's move down 2. Boom, there's an A. There you go. Well, that's an A, and this is an A. That is what? 1 octave below. And this is an A. That's 1 octave above. 2 octaves above. 3 octaves down. 1, 2, 3. See? All right, now we found A. Now, very easy. Just do your ABCs. A, B, remember C, D, E, F, G, and we're back to A. And that's it. Those are all the white notes, and those are their names. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay? Now you're also going to notice that there are no black notes between B and C. A, B, C, D, E, and F. E and F. Okay, these are a half step apart, and we're going to get into that right now, because now any note I play on the keyboard, this note, you can figure out. You find your 2 black notes, you go to C, you go down, A, B, C, D, that's a D. Simple as that, okay? Now let's figure out what all these black notes are named. So let's go to C. The next note, the next black note next to C is going to use the C name, but it's a half step higher. Half step is the closest distance on the keyboard. That's a half step, that's a half step, half step, half step, half step, half. The closest, okay? So on and so forth, all right? This is C sharp. That's what it's called. It's called C sharp. And it's also called A, B, C sharp, A, B, C, D, D flat. Okay, it's called C sharp and D flat. And once again, that will become clear as we start making scales and start spelling things. That's the wonderful thing about the keyboard. It becomes very visual. So for right now, just learn that particular note has two different names. So armed with that, let's just take this first black note of the set of 3 and figure out what that is. Well, the first thing we have to do is figure out what the two white notes are underneath it so we know how to spell it. So we would go C, A, B, C, D, E, F. We're going up, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G flat. So this note is either called F sharp or G flat. Let's go down to the 2, but let's go to the right one now. Okay, find your C, two black notes left, C. Go down to A, B, C. Here's your two white notes that are going to name your black note. You got D sharp, or you have E flat. Now, armed with that, any note on the keyboard you can spell. Okay, doesn't matter. If I play that note, you go C, you go down to A. It's either an A sharp or a B flat. Okay. Now, remember when I said there are two places where white notes are right next to each other, as a white note and a black note are here. That means, this is where it gets a little confusing right now for you. This can be either C, or because this is the next note down, it can also be called B sharp. And there's a reason for that when we actually start spelling scales and such. And conversely, if this could be called C or B sharp, what can this note be called? C flat. That's correct. C flat. And what about here? We go A, B, C, D, E, F, E, F. This can either be F flat, or this could be E sharp. Okay, so it'll be F or E sharp, or E or F flat. Now, don't worry right now about naming these notes that. For the time being, just worry about flats and sharps here, and your white notes. Don't worry, because at some point we even get into double sharps and double flats. And this has to do with spelling. That's all it is. It just has to do with how we actually spell things. And in actuality, this C sharp and D flat are actually played minutely different in terms of intonation. This scale would actually be played slightly different, even though it's exactly the same notes on the piano. If you were playing a wind instrument, there's certain ways that you would actually play that would be slightly different intonationally. If it was a C sharp scale as opposed to a D flat scale, same scale on the piano sound, but with other instruments there's slight variations. And I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, so you've learned you can pick out any note on this keyboard and you can name it. Well done. Now in the next free video, your next free lesson, you will actually be able to start forming scales, understanding what scales are, and starting to learn intervals and chords. Okay? This has been Brian for Piano Lessons Advice. Please do me a favor, go on, buy some materials, search around, use my sponsors. This is how I make my money. So that's it. Thanks so much, and stay tuned for part 2, and there'll be more to come. All right, thanks.